Well, hello, friends. I hope you're having a great day today. Guess what? It's Monday. It's the start of a brand new week that God's given us. So why don't you just go ahead and get excited about the things that God's going to do this week, because we know He will do some amazing things for the life of His people, especially if we put our faith in Him. And speaking of faith, that's what we're talking about again. I know that last week I made mention that we were going to move on to a different series, and then throughout the week I just kind of felt the Lord telling me just to hold up right here for a little bit and don't leave Hebrews 11 too quick. I think it's essential. I think this is a teaching that we need. The Bible is where we should draw all our conclusions and form all of our perspectives about faith. And so Hebrews 11, I think, is a great place to start, and I believe it's one of the most important subjects that we could study, because everything God does, He does on the basis of faith. As a matter of fact, Hebrews 11:6 says that faith's the only way to please God. So I want to know how to please Him. And so that means that we're going to have a better understanding of faith than what we have. Now, what we've done, we've taken all those individual characters that were mentioned there in Hebrews 11, and we've looked at their lives. When you look at them, about each one of them, the writer of Hebrews says something in the text that demands that we go back into the Old Testament and look at the lives of each one of these heroes of faith. And that's good for us, because that helps us to look back and see the similarities between ourselves today and between those people that were mentioned there in Hebrews. And we need to make that connection. We need to understand the things that they went through, and the things that they endured, the things that they felt, the thoughts they had, the emotions that they endured. We need to understand all of that, because if we can't make that connection with them, then we'll never know it's possible for us to have the same faith that they did. And if we can't make that connection, then the Bible is just a book of stories, that we read that sound real good from time to time. But it's not just a book of stories. It is the story about what God will do for His people if we will put complete faith in Him. And so that's what we're really striving to do. We're given all of these examples in Hebrews 11. We talked about Enoch and Noah and Abel and Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Jacob and Esau and Joseph and Moses. And we talked about Joshua crossing Jordan and then marching around Jericho and Rahab the prostitute. We've talked about all of these people there, and we're given all of these examples because somewhere in this, every person that is alive today connects with one or more of these people mentioned in this chapter, oftentimes in more than one way. When you look at these people of faith that are mentioned here, they are flawed in some way. Some of them are flawed in many ways. And really, that's no different than you and me. So that's one connection we make, because these are flawed people and we are flawed as well. And so we should take comfort and courage in knowing that God always used imperfect people that are willing to put their complete faith in His divine plan. He always did it, and He's still doing it today. So that is encouraging to you and me to know that God's not looking for perfection in us. He's looking for complete faith. That's what He's searching for. Now, on the other hand, you do have these people in the world today that want to take pride in the shortcomings of these great men and women, because they will use that to abuse the grace of God and then justify their own repeated sins and failures. The devil has so deceived these people into thinking that all they have to do is believe that nothing else is required of their life. And so they'll look at the failures of a man like Abraham who lied, or Moses who committed murder, or Noah who got on a binge and got drunk, or David that committed adultery, or Jacob who was a con man. They'll look at those things and they will take pride in the fact that God used men like that, so He should use men like that today as well. And while He will do that, We just need to make sure that it is not because we're abusing the grace of God and thinking that God has to do it just because He did something for Abraham or Isaac or Jacob. We should not necessarily think that He has just got to do it for us, because He is God, my friend, and He doesn't have to do anything at all. So stop using the shortcomings of the patriarchs and the matriarchs of faith as a means to justify your own laziness when it comes to dealing with sin. Because when you truly begin to apply faith to God, complete faith in God's plan and purpose for your life, it changes who you are. That's how all of those people changed. That's what changed Abraham. That's what changed Moses. That's what changed Isaac. That's what changed David. I know Moses was a murderer, but he applied such great faith in God that later God said about Moses what He said about nobody else. He said, Moses is my friend. I will talk to him face to face, and he is the meekest man that ever lived. And so that's how they changed. That's how David became a man that was after God's own heart. Even though he committed adultery with Bathsheba there, he applied his faith in God, and faith is what brought a change about in his life. So when you put faith in God, real faith I'm talking about. I'm not talking about this silly stuff that people pop like a pill when they get in trouble or when things are happening bad in their life, and they'll just throw faith around like it's a ibuprofen or a Tylenol or something like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that apply faith to God and in His plan and purpose every day and every moment of their life. It changes who you are. Because when you have real faith in God, then you will develop a healthy fear of God. And when you have a healthy fear of God, that will always result in obedience. And so obedience is what brings a change of character. It's what changes men like Jacob from a con man to a great man. Consider Noah and Rahab just for a minute, if you will. They both had faith in God. That's where it started. That faith turned into a healthy fear of God because they knew that God would send judgment like He said He would do. And that fear then drove them to obey God. And so Noah built the ark, and his family survived, and Rahab threw the scarlet cord out the window and her family survived. And that's what really changes a person, is that constant applied faith in God. Well, hang out this week with me. We're going to talk about Gideon, and we're going to learn some things that maybe you've never heard from before as we strive to connect to these great men and women of God and see just what faith can do in our life. Well, hey, it's been good being with you. I will see you tomorrow right here on Tuesday's edition of Take 5. Until then, God bless you. Have a great day. Remember, friend, trust the Lord. He will never fail you.